Here's a little spring garden tour of my place here in northeast Minneapolis. This is mostly just going to cover April, early spring. You can see that in the beginning of April things were a little brown, not very interesting, but that things were starting to poke through the ground and we're starting to get some interesting things showing up. Because things can be a little dreary after a long winter, I've planted a lot of ephemerals. Here we have some crocus, and behind that you can actually start to see some native prairie smoke poking through the ground, that green leafy material. Here's a better picture of some of the crocus coming up through the ground. Super exciting. Here's the blueberry bushes I have next to the front steps. You can see they're budding out. Come over this way, we can see that the tulips are starting to come up through the ground, and the Juneberry tree is starting to show some life. Here's the backyard. Doesn't look like much. I think you're going to see that when I show the garden later in the summer, that it's going to look completely different. We do have some daffodils poking up through the ground and starting to flower. There's a lot of duff still around. I don't usually clean my gardens out of last year's plants because I've heard that bees can live in the stems, and I would like to encourage bees to live in my yard. Going over here, we can see that the rhubarb is already starting to poke up through the ground. Super exciting. Make some rhubarb pie here in a couple months, maybe month. It's so cool the way they come up out of the ground and kind of unfold and expand. Here we have some columbine, some more daffodils. Alright, so now it's a little bit farther later into April. Things are definitely starting to green up more. We've had some rain. One of my new favorite flowers is the pasque flower. They're just so amazing, and not only are they cool when they are purple and in bloom, but once they finish their bloom, they turn into these wispy purple firework looking things. So most of my flowers are native plants, but because those take so long to get going, I've interspersed lots of flowers like hyacinths, daffodils, and tulips to tide me over until later in the spring, when plants like prairie smoke will start to bloom and show, and then even later in the summer when you start getting your purple cone flowers and things like that. Looks like the chickadees are enjoying the pear tree. Alright, now we're heading into the later part of the month, and things are really starting to get colorful. The daffodils have done alright, but really the most success I've had has come from tulips. They just seem to like it here. And there are more tulips every year than the year before. Here's some lupine. I really love those flowers when they start to bloom. Here's some more prairie smoke. Now the Juneberry tree is really blooming. It smells really good. And soon I'll be getting little purplish blue berries. You can see the rhubarb is really taking off. Not only do I grow rhubarb, but I also have some red currant bushes which look like they're going to be very productive. trying something new. I've been kind of jealous of all the people that have cattle panel trellises, so I built one myself. This is how I start my tomato seeds. I've had really good luck doing that. I haven't had so much luck doing it with peppers, which is a shame because I really would like to grow more peppers. For a number of summers now, I've been visited by house wrens. They usually use one of my birdhouses to make a nest. I enjoy their song, even if sometimes it can get to be a little noisy there in the morning. So I have a dandelion problem in my yard. I've given up. I'm going to start using the dandelions every spring for various recipes. So far, I've mostly only used it to make dandelion wine. Here's my plum tree. It looks really happy. I'm really excited. You can see all the pollinators flying around it. I'm hoping to get a good harvest of plums this year. Well, that's how the garden looks now. I'll follow up later in the spring to show how much the garden changes.